You can keep all your passwords in one place and secure from hacking with this. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I just bought this book. There are a few different types out there, but based on the previews, the page previews, I thought this one would be a pretty good one. Now, it does come in a couple different formats. This one is spiral bound. It does come in a diary format too. It's a little more expensive, but they didn't have that in stock, so I got it with the spiral bound right up there. I think that'll be fine, although I am probably a little partial to the diary format. I also wanted something with a nice cover here, and this one has like a vinyl cover. I wouldn't have minded being like a leather too. Now, I want to talk to you, before we get into this, a little bit about the philosophy of a password book, because you're probably saying, Pete, you don't write down your password. That's the easiest way people can break into your accounts. You certainly wouldn't put your username and password on a piece of paper, on a post-it, and put it on your computer. And no, you would not do that because anyone walking by would see that. Now, however, if you wrote down your password on a post-it and put it in your desk or in a file folder or in your briefcase or with your iPad or something like that, it's probably not going to be something that people are going to stumble on. Nor would I use something like that in a workplace. I would probably have it at my home. I have definitely written down passwords sometimes, especially when it's a complex password and I have to commit it to memory, and I haven't done that quite yet. Sometimes I will write that down as well. The other thing I will tell you is that most people are not going to lose the passwords that are written down in their home. It's not usually a case of people getting ransacked and they're like, hey, there's all the passwords written down. I'll take that for now, and then when I'll get home after robbing this person, I'll log in and look at all their accounts or withdraw all their money or connect it to my other account. Most people that are robbing homes are looking for hard goods because, to be honest, by the time you come home and realize everything's gone, you might change your passwords anyway. So I get that there are arguments against having passwords written down, and obviously the best option there would be to just know them all in your head. And there are some tricks to having different passwords that are easily memorizable or some sort of formula that you can figure out, and I use some of those myself, but sometimes the conventions for passwords are just different. Now, I've kind of gone off rambling here and ranting a little bit because ultimately, as I think about password books, they tend to make a lot of sense, especially if you have a book, single place that they're all going to be, and you can just always make sure this is secure. So if you're going to go on a trip, maybe you put this in your safe. Maybe you take it with you if you're going to access your accounts. So you'll always have it with you as opposed to just being something that's always laying out and people seeing it. And this is not something you would take to your office to work. You wouldn't have it in a public spot. Now, that being said, if you don't believe in these, don't buy them. But if you do, and you have a lot of passwords and you're like, man, I have them on little different pieces of paper, on post-its and all over the place, like so many people I know, I think this is something that you should look at. Now, I want to show you here, this little band on the front is just paper, and you can just tear that off, and eventually you'll just have like this black book here. You don't have password book like embossed or in gold foil or something on top of it, right? So you don't have to worry about that. The other thing is that it does have this elastic band here, kind of like a moleskin notebook. You can see that, and that holds it shut. So even if you are getting a little rough with it, you break it out of your briefcase while you're having coffee with someone, it's not going to flop open and people will be like, what is that? It's all your usernames and passwords for everything. That's not going to happen. So I do like the fact that it has a little bit of closure assistance, and it's just as easy to remove it just like this. Now, when I open this up, what you can see here, it's got a nice rainbow-like inner cover. See here, just blank on both sides, which is really nice. And it says Internet Address and Password Logbook, and it says stop and read, and it probably gives you some suggestions on what to do here. I do want to flip it open here because I want to show you what this looks like. First of all, it has site name, site address, login or username, and password, and it's all in pretty big format. You can see we only have 4 spots on each page, right? So what you can do here is you can handwrite it. It should be nice and legible, should be easy to read. You can make it pretty big. You can use a medium width felt tip pen and it shouldn't be a problem. And what you also have are these tabs here. You can see they say A, B, C, D, E, F. So, if you are using Redbox, you could go down here to the R's, right? And just get there really quickly. Now, I will say you're probably not going to run out of spots. Obviously, for a lot of us, we have a lot of memberships, to MeWe, Parlor, all those types of things, and you want to have your logins. Now, there is a little criticism here, and that is having 2 letters per tab. And I kind of get that. I've just heard that from people in that, yeah, if I want to go to B's, it's not obvious to me where the B's start. I just know they're going to be in the A, B, and if I put A's here, and then I've started a B, and then I get another A and I have to use the next line, it's just not as nice as having an individual tab. Now, I get that the tabs will get pretty small, so you might have A's and B's mixed together. One strategy might be to go all the way to the last AB tab and start with your B's kind of on the back going forward and the A's starting at the front going backwards. You know, that might help you be a little more, I don't know, efficient with it. I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. I think for your most common sites, you're probably going to have those passwords memorized, but for some of them you're not. And for a lot of us, you know, if you're using a password manager or your browser remembers them, you're not having to input as many passwords as you might think. But there are, especially on the sites that you don't go on a daily basis, you know, it can be really hard to remember those. For me, it's like logging into my AT&T phone bill. I don't do that very often. I only do it when I want to see what plans they have, and so sometimes remembering what that password is kind of a pain. So that's what it looks like on pretty much all of these. It's site name, site address, login name, and password. And if you really wanted to be clever about it, you might not put the URL, or you might rename the company. I'll be honest, on paper like this, I don't know that being clever is really necessary. I think what the issue is for most people that get hacked is that you go to a website that's phishing and you put in your password, and that's how people get it. Or they log into your password manager, or they somehow get an unencrypted password file from a vendor and that password works for other websites, those types of things. But very few people are hacking analog passwords, right? Very few people are sending drones into houses to photograph all of your paperwork. So, ironically, a pen and paper password book like this may be the least hackable option ever. Now, I do want to show you here, if I flip all the way to the back, we get some other things here. So we get some other pages. I don't know how much you'll need here, but it's like home network settings, so you can put your Wi-Fi password in there. You have internet and computer information. You have software license numbers, especially if you're reinstalling software that you've already purchased on a new computer, you might have to input that number. So you can have a lot of stuff central here, and I think it's a really great reference piece. Like I said, I know people that have multiple extraneous separate pieces of paper in a manila folder, and they're basically doing this, but on sheets that aren't organized. You know, if you want to find AT&T, even though it's an A, it might just be buried the sixth piece of paper under there. So this, I think, is going to be a nice, compact, easy to use password book, and you're going to be able to find stuff pretty quickly, and that's going to be really helpful. Hey, if you want to pick this up, I'll put a link to it in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out.